Hi everyone, welcome back to another speed build. My name is Marian and today we're building a tiny home for a pro gamer. And before we get to the build, I just want to say thank you so much for 500 subscribers. I really appreciate every person who watches my videos, comments on my videos, and just is here in general. So thank you so much. It's been really fun being a part of the community and I can't wait for the rest of this year. Also, Happy New Year! I'm not a big New Year's resolution person, but I did make a couple goals for The Sims this year. One of them being that I do want to build more and less in a consistency aspect when it comes to social media content, but more just from like a less pressure, just building for fun aspect, if that makes sense. I feel like what burned me out was that I was putting so much pressure on myself to keep posting speed builds, when in reality what I enjoyed the most about building The Sims was just building a bunch of things in The Sims. So I'm trying to reframe that, and I think that'll be my little recipe to success for sharing more of my speed builds. And my second goal is kind of more simple, but I still think it's gonna be a fun challenge. I really want to challenge myself to rely less on the color white in my speed builds. I try to do it a little bit in this tiny home, like you see all of the navy blue on the walls and that warm wood tone on the floors. I also used a lot of black furniture in this, so I thought it was just nice to have more contrast in my builds. It's just nice to mix things up, and I think challenging myself to try different colors will naturally encourage me to try different styles as well. I'm really happy with how this turned out. I was thinking that this sim who lived here is a pro gamer. Their primary activity during the day was actually their pro gaming career. So I was thinking that they leave the house to go practice with their team, or they practice in this dedicated gaming setup. And then on the side or in their free time, they also stream. I ended up building a wall to make this a dedicated streaming studio, just because in my head I'm like, realistically, you would want it to be in a smaller space and not in an open space to kind of control the audio better. So in the back you have some trophies and this big sign in the back. I was thinking that was maybe their esports team, and that's their streaming backdrop. Hi, it's future Marian, and once again, I had a gap in my voiceover. It did not sync up with the speed build. So here I am in the future recording during this gap, but I'm kind of just pulling the studio together. I loved making this custom built-in desk thing by shoving the desk into that bookshelf. And then I'm also gonna get that My First Pet Stuff blinds that I'm really enjoying using. And I also added that greenery curtain, but that ended up being deleted. But yeah, back to past me. And then right here we have their desk with these light boxes, which are sized down light boxes from Moschino. And then also the streaming setup from high school years. I was really scared that I was missing something and that you actually couldn't stream on this computer. You had to have the big, huge streaming station from Get Famous. But thankfully, if you just do the streaming career, then you can stream straight from your computer, which is what I had my sim do. And you'll probably see them in the B-roll at the beginning of this video. I'm adding some gaming posters to the wall. I was thinking maybe that's the game that they play, or maybe it's just a game that they really love. We're working on the living room. I was thinking, if you're a pro gamer slash streamer and that's your career, that's not the most traditional career, so I didn't want it to be the most traditional house, but I didn't want it to feel childish, and I think I achieved that in this tiny home, but let me know what you think. It was a challenge at times to kind of toe the line between having it be not as traditional, but not having it seem like a kid lived here, because I was thinking it was someone in their mid-20s and they have a very established career. So it was fun and kind of challenging to pick items that reflected that personality. But yeah, I ended up using this couch from high school years, and I keep using these curtains from Desert Luxe. And I'm adding this Snowy Escape lantern, which I thought was a fun addition, and then also cluttering up this area under the TV. I liked having the open console table because it is a smaller space, and it gave me the opportunity to add some personality through the clutter that we fit in here. So I have this little ottoman and this rack of fitness equipment, which was really nice, and then also adding the Spade radio, which I like adding to living rooms. It just looks like a very nice, sleek sound bar, and I really like that. I really enjoyed using that wall decal as well. I just thought it was so fun. I wanted to have a very put together space, but with punches of personality throughout the room, so that was cool. And I also added that movie poster, which I think is actually, it's supposed to be a movie/gaming poster, and I was imagining that's also from the game that they play primarily. And now we're moving on to the kitchen. I love all of the windows that are just letting light come through, and I love how the room upstairs is actually connected to the stairway. It kind of feels like a lofted space because it's not closed off by a door, which I thought was fun. And now I'm adding this mini fridge, which I thought was a nice touch, and it feels so perfect because if you watch a lot of pro gamers or streamers, a lot of the times if they're sponsored by like a specific energy drink or sports drink, they'll just have a whole fridge of it in the back of their backdrop. So I thought this was cool. I also put some snacks on top of it. Whenever they need a little boost while they're practicing or streaming, they could just open the door and grab a drink or a snack. And now I'm just sizing up this base game shelf to put the trophies on, and I imagine that these were trophies that they won in different gaming tournaments. And at first I wanted to use the Dream Home Decorator cube shelves and put different gaming consoles in it as decoration, but I kept trying to rearrange them, and they're so glitchy. I don't know if this happens to y'all, but they would just attach to random walls and random surfaces, and then at some point they just disappeared, and I was like, oh, maybe they're in the basement. So I go back down to the basement floor. They're not there. I searched the whole build, and they're just nowhere to be found. And then after that, my whole build started glitching. So I'm hoping that doesn't happen again. Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. It was really weird, so I just deleted them altogether. And now we're back in the kitchen. I end up using these Dream Home Decorator counters. They're really nice. I love the contrast between the warm wood tone and the black. It just fit perfectly with all of the other decorations that we were going for. And as much as I wanted to keep this mosquito window, I love the open panel. It did annoy me that you could see part of the counter and part of the cabinet covering the window on the inside. So I end up putting that Snowy Escape window. And then now I'm figuring out the seating. It took me a little bit to find an orientation for the chairs and the table that worked, but I ended up figuring it out. Now we're just adding a very minimal amount of clutter to make it functional for gameplay. You do need one open counter, so I made sure to have that available. And I do playtest this build, and I try to playtest all of my builds. I'm kind of rusty and coming back into The Sims, so if I forget to playtest something, I'm really sorry. But this one I can guarantee is playtested and it's fully functional. And I like that I was able to utilize the space underneath the stairway. I was kind of decorating it before I playtested it, kind of thinking that that whole corner may not even be functional, But whenever I was playtesting it, they were able to use the coffee machine that's right under the stairs. Now I'm just decorating the entryway. I have this nice full-length mirror from Eco Lifestyle and the mail holder from the Everyday Clutter Kit. I'm gonna be adding the Parenthood board. I was thinking that if they're a pro gamer and they probably have a lot of sponsorships and tournaments and team practices, that they have to keep track of a lot of things for their schedule. So I was thinking that that would be the perfect decoration. And now we're moving on to the bathroom. And I really like how this bathroom turned out. I ended up using the Space Game subway tile, and it just brought it all together. I love this style and this color palette. It turned out so perfectly. And I do end up having to delete that middle wall where the window is by the shower. And now I'm adding a little light switch by this sink. I thought that was such a cute idea. I was thinking that that light switch was actually the switch for the garbage disposal. I'm having a lot of fun using the base game wall switch that was added to the game a while back. I didn't think I would use it because it feels so unnecessary, but it feels like it's so fun whenever you add it because it makes it feel that much more realistic. So I think I'm gonna add it to all my kitchens from now on because I don't know, it just like tickled a part of my brain where I was like, yay, I made a garbage disposal. Just the most unnecessary thing, but it was so fun. And now we're moving on to the upstairs area. And before I do that, actually, I'm adding this industrial kind of more rough textured white accent wall throughout the house. I thought it would just make the navy blue and the orange wood tone pop even more. And then also with a tiny home, you do want to take into consideration that it is a very small space. So having those white and light tones to make the space feel more open helps a lot. I ended up adding this tiny living dresser with some books on top. And now I'm adding some wall art above the bed. And of course, one of them is another gaming poster. And I ended up using this city living rug underneath the bed. And that bed is from Dream Home Decorator. Dream Home Decorator has such beautiful furniture. And it's a great blend of mid-century modern and contemporary. I'm excited because I actually got a lot more packs with the sim sale that ends today. And one of those packs is Growing Together. And I feel like Growing Together has a whole load of build buy items that are in the same style that I'm really excited to use. So I'll be probably making limited pack builds for those packs just to familiarize myself with them. And here I am adding this huge flat screen TV to the upstairs bedroom. I thought this was a really fun idea. I'm not gonna put this in my typical household, but this isn't really your typical home. So I thought it was perfect because I feel like if you're in the gaming sphere and the streaming sphere, you probably consume a lot of that same media. So I was thinking when they're relaxing, they're in their bedroom and just watching streams and other gaming tournaments on their TV while they're chilling upstairs. And here I'm working on the balcony. I like to imagine that this sim like to focus on their physical and mental health whenever they're not streaming. And when you're streaming, you're spending a lot of time just sitting down in front of your computer. So I'd like to think that they like to prioritize their health in their off time. So that was really nice. I added that yoga mat and a grill and some plants, and I do end up moving that grill towards the end of the build. And now I'm adding some lighting to the outside of the house. And side note, I watched the Hunger Games prequel and it was really good. But I will say I'm kind of conflicted because I think I liked it mainly because I love the Hunger Games and I loved the book. But I still don't know what to think because I feel like they paced it perfectly. The casting was great. And I felt like they adapted the book really well. Like, they didn't really leave anything out. But I don't know, it just didn't hit the same as the originals. And that was my thought after the movie. And actually, a few days later, we watched the original Hunger Games movie, which I love. And that movie just hit different. Like, the prequel, it served its purpose and it was good. But that original movie, it's just, I can't even find the words right now to describe how much I love the Hunger Games series and the original movies. Like, I know a lot of people weren't a fan of like the shaky cam indie feel of the first movie, but I felt like it aged even better. Like, watching it as an adult, I was crying. I was still scared even though I knew what was gonna happen. And I'm not gonna spoil anything in case you haven't watched it. Even though it's been 12 years, you should go watch it. Highly recommend. But it just hit different as an adult. And I'm just really happy that it held up. Like, that's my series. That's my favorite series. And it feels good to still be a fan and to know that other people are still a fan. Like, the Hunger Games community is very much alive, and I'm here for it. Moving back to the build, I am moving on to the exterior of the build. You saw me landscape a bit more and kind of carve out the pavement areas. I love how I made that carport on the side. I picked a kind of nice car because I figured they kind of had some nice esports money. And I also made this covered area in the back. And I figured that this particular build was the perfect opportunity to use the jacuzzi. And I literally never used the jacuzzi, not even in my bigger homes. So it was very interesting, but I made it work. I was thinking maybe they like to party on the weekends. So the jacuzzi was a nice touch. And I'm just adding some seating and a grill area. And I guess this would be a good third New Year's goal / resolution, is to spice up my backyard game, because I don't have any backyard game, honestly. Like, I know to add a table, some chairs, an activity, and a grill if I'm feeling exciting, and some plants. But otherwise, like, structurally, I get kind of lost with the backyards of my builds, so maybe that's something I could focus on for the rest of the year to improve on. I'll have to do some research, find some nice reference photos, but I'll add that to my list. And now we're adding some terrain paint, which means we're approaching the end of the build. So again, thank you so much for watching. Thank you again for 500 subscribers. It really means a lot to me. And I hope y'all are doing really well. If you have any build suggestions or suggestions for my limited pack builds, please let me know in the comments. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Bye y'all!